Hi there, I'm so glad you could drop by. My name is Troels and this is Soundpaint Beautiful Noises. Beautiful Noises is one of the gems I've been waiting for years to show you guys. It's the culmination of several years of work and development. We traveled to 25 different countries and recorded the soul and the spirit of those countries. So whether it's the deep forest of the Amazon jungle or a voodoo ritual in Haiti, whether it's a street party in Mexico, whether it's like sirens in Thailand, anything you can imagine from across the world, both in the natural and in the urban realm, it's in here somewhere. It's so full of rich beauty from the everyday world as we know it, but it culminates with instrument sound design as well. I like to call this musical sound design, where the world of sound design meets music. And today I'm going to take you through all the 25 different countries. We're going to have some fun playing around and painting with all these different sounds. I want to show you what you can do in Soundpaint in terms of just taking a completely mundane recording of frogs, for example, and how you can make that into a cascadingly beautiful synthesizer or whatever you want to do. This is one of the beauties of Soundpaint, that it's an open engine. It allows you to do things never possible before in terms of just mangling stuff together real quick and easily and explore the world of natural sounds in a musical way. But I thought it could be cool to kickstart this video by playing just some samples from Ukraine. In this case, Felix, our sound designer, went to Ukraine, to the radioactive zone in the previous USSR Ukraine, and recorded a variety of sounds from the zone in there. And it's a very lonely sort of vibe to it. And you'll hear, for example, when you go to Mexico, that you get the vibe of that. In this case here, you're going to get the vibe of a radioactive zone that's been abandoned for quite a while. And there's some beauty in that as well. So I'm just going to play just some different sounds here so we can just start on a very easy note in terms of what this library sounds like in its core state. To me, that sounds like, I think this was like a playground on an old kids swing. So for example, right now, as you saw, I just went in here and clicked one note stretch here, and I'm gonna click this sound here. And now this sound is stretched over the keys. Just to show you how quickly you can take a sound and make something a little bit different out of it. All right, let's move on here and try a couple more sounds. We'll come back to that sound. That's the sound of a Geiger counter. But you can hear it's just a lot of very empty and isolated sounds, but wait till you hear what we can do with this kind of sound material. It's very deep and vast. But this was just to give an idea about like the source material in itself. But let me jump to another place in the world here. In this case right now, I'm gonna take our 1928 piano, which is for free. You probably have it already. And if you buy Beautiful Noises, this would be one of those we call hidden gems in the library. So this instrument will pop up so you can play it, mixing the piano with Amazon jungle. And you can control how much jungle you want on the mod wheel here. It's beautiful. In this next example here, we're going to go to Belgium and we're going to listen just to some howling wind. And then we're going to mangle that a little bit with the effects section here. Check out the wind here. In this case, I was using the mod wheel to control our shimmer reverb and added a little bit of gate to it as well. The gate is really cool because you can take any sound here. Let's go out and listen to some of the other sounds from Belgium and just make rhythms out of them as well. Let me just turn this shimmer off here. Oh, this one is cool as well. These are actually little frogs. It sounds like a little bit like the old synthesizers that used to have similar sounds. It's cute. But let's listen to a few other sounds here. Right, so this is a very distant hall. You can hear some kids. I think this was at a museum, if I recall right. And they sort of echo of it. But if I turn out the gate here, I'll trigger a few more layers here. And then turn up the gate here. All of a sudden, something very different. We can add a little bit of distortion to it. And that's sort of what I'm talking about when it comes to musical sound design. You know, there's a vibe in that sound, some kind of dark dystopian stuff in the bottom here. And all of a sudden you can make that into something very different. All right, next up we're going to Argentina. I'm going to play the 1928 piano again, and you're going to hear some beautiful natural sounds come in as I move the mod wheel up here. And you can turn the jungle down or the little animal sounds. In this next example here, I took our Bazantar, which is an upcoming instrument for Soundpaint, and I morphed it with a group of Belgian nuns doing their night prayers. And one of the cool things, if you look here in the UI, is that this morph button allows you to morph different elements and they can be completely unrelated. In this case, it's a bass morphed with nuns whispering. There's no tone in the whispers. But what's unique about Soundpaint is that if you take one sound, and you can see in this case here, the Bazantar is pointing towards the nuns in the sense that this instrument is the predominant instrument and the nuns have to conform to the character of that instrument. So you're actually going to hear a bass kind of sing and whisper, but the non-tonal sounds from the nuns have to conform to the bass, if that makes sense. Check it out here. I'm just going to morph the nuns in here on the mod wheel, but you're going to hear me first play just the raw sound of the bass. And it's perhaps easier to hear if I just play a single sound here. You can hear how the whispers become tonal. And it's an awesome way in the engine of exploring new domains where you're not just playing two different sounds or mixing them, you can morph them together and really create unique textures. This program here in particular is a good example of what we call hidden gems as well. If you own the Bazantar, this will unlock itself once you install beautiful noises as well. But let's move on here to Bolivia this time. I'm going to again play our 1928 piano, and this time you're going to hear these beautiful night sounds from Bolivia. Very soft jungle sound. It has a little bit of a tonal thing going on. All the insects are sort of moving in a vibe. They tend to get into these sort of momentum or rhythms, and they're beautiful and musical in their own right, and really creates a unique kind of flavor with the piano. It's amazing what a piano can do sometimes in a different context than the sort of emotions that it evokes. In this next one here, we're going to Brazil. In this case here, it's just a group of adults clapping, and you're going to hear sort of the kids run through the group. It's just a sweet little family moment. But I'm going to take that sound and mangle a little bit to what I would best describe as like an ocean, maybe, an ocean of claps. That's actually the sound. It's just a bunch of people clapping, but in Soundpaint we have a granular reverb. So this will take grains and make them into reverbs, which creates this cascade. We also have a rain delay, a little bit in the same realm, but this one in particular is fantastic at creating these massive cascades. So one sound becomes millions of them, and that's how we can transform a clap to an ocean wave. Maybe it's like a very stormy ocean or something. In this next example here, we're going to go to the desert of Chile, and we're going to listen to the piano. I took the 1928 and then I made another version of it that's reversed. You can see this little icon here. If you ever want to reverse a sound, you could just click the sound mode here and pick reverse on any sound, and it's going to be reversed. I love this sound here. Let me try to just turn the pianos down here. It's essentially just a little metal can sort of lying in the wind and just rolling over the desert floor. But it has a little bit of tone to it. And you can hear the pianos tuned in the same key. So they all sort of bind together. Here is another patch from Chile, Valparaiso. I'm playing the piano, but I'm morphing it with music. So that's another thing in Soundpaint that's sort of unique. You can actually take music, and then you can say that the music needs to conform to the instrument. So in this case, it's a piano, but when you hear the movement in each key, when I play them and I turn out the mod wheel, you can hear music come out of that, but the music has to conform to the tone, the pitch, the key of the instrument. It's very unique. And if we listen to the sound source without the morphing, it sounds like this. When we morph the same note here, it sounds like this. So you get this weird, sort of metallic, alien kind of vibe. One of the cool things about beautiful noises is that you can search for the sounds in two different ways. You'll notice here under our parts that you can either search by country, that's what we're starting doing in this video here, you can see them right here, or you can search by types. So whether it's animals or ASMR or humans or rainforest, rattlesnakes, whatever it is, it's in here as well. So there's two different ways of finding sounds in the library. But sometimes it's just about the natural sounds as well. In this case here, we're going to go to France. I built a patch that's very beautiful and cute and warm and like Hobbit-like in its core state. But as you dial in the mod wheel, you introduce thunder. This is in the wood sides of France and just a beautiful sound. For me, sometimes I actually like natural sounds more than music, and this is just one of those ways for a sort of more meditative state of mind, if you will. Just serenity and tranquility. The rain sort of coming in a little bit. Distant thunder. And we take the mod wheel again. Next up, we're going to go to Haiti and listen to a native voodoo ritual. I'm going to try to mangle a little bit with the effects here, but we're going to start just listening to the natural source and then mangle our way into it. In this next one here, we are in Kinshasa, and in this case, it's a butcher sharpening his knife before a ritual butchering. In this next one here, we are in Mali, and we're going to listen to piano, and the piano is tuned with a recording of a couple of people that are sort of in the same tone as the piano. It gives a unique vibe. Very soft. And you can hear the pitch here go up. That's because our BBD here is an analog modeled tape delay. So you get the natural things about what happens when you speed up tape. Next up, we are in Morocco, and in this case here, it's just a little water stream mixed with a piano. I have a thing about water. It's actually what led to the entire design of Soundpaint. I think there's something godly about the material, and it certainly sounds godly as well. But this is just imagine a little water stream together with a piano. And as you move the mod wheel, the water becomes a big stream. Piano washes out. In this next one, we are by the cliff sides of Portugal. You know, I always envision Portugal as this sort of super beachy place, but once you hit like further towards the south, it's some massive cliffs and a very rocky kind of territory. In this one here, you can hear the ocean sort of clash against the cliffs and seagulls around and all that. But as you can see here, I've loaded, and these comes with the program as well, a couple of effects here that's gonna mangle it just a tad here. But let's listen to the raw state of the sound first. Like imagine that in a hybrid score. And that's sort of what I mean when we talk about musical sound design. You know, it can be a lot of things. You can take the cliff sides of Portugal and made it into this like nasty hybrid kind of ambience. There's a lot that can be done with sounds, and I think we sometimes bind ourselves too much to the realm of like, oh, it has to be like done this way. Not necessarily. It really comes down to the technology in front of you and how easy it is to mangle these sounds here. All right, in this next example, we're in Prague, and we're gonna listen to the city alert. Once a week, there is an alert broadcasted through the city, and you're gonna hear all the sirens go up at the same time. It sounds like this in its natural state. You know, it's interesting, it actually sustains the sound. I wonder, let me take an A minor here and see what happens. Okay, sort of, the city alert piano or synthesizer. Let's try to play it real deep here instead. I mean, as an eerie ambience, it's got a lot of mood. I would say to a large degree, when you work with beautiful noises, if you want to use it in that more dark capacity, just go further down here, use the single note stretch here, take the notes and dump them down a couple of octaves and really figure out like what substance is down here. I mean, this is an excellent like dark ambience because it's moving. A lot of dark components in it. All right, let's jump to something a little more lighthearted. In this case here, we're in Romania, and these are night frogs, and a lot of them. This is actually a good example. There, like we just talked about, there's dark materials in the deep notes here. Let's listen to what's inside of these Romanian frogs. And if we play them up here, like it's just a beautiful symphony of frogs. You know, we often talk like it's sort of the symphony of frogs, the most horny symphony ever written as the male frogs are serenading. In this next example, we're in Spain. And in this case here, it's just the 1928 piano together with cowbells. And the cowbells are tuned roughly in the same key as the piano. I love things when they're cascading. Lots of cowbells. It's like magic. And it's a good example of when I talk about beautiful noises, normally it's like, oh, it's a cow. Well, I guess a cowbell is a music instrument, even though these were actually like cowbells. I should also mention, cowbells are actually quite torturous. A lot of cows, we know now, have gotten tinnitus because when you have a bell hanging by your ear all day long, it actually hurts. So as cute as cowbells are, they're actually pretty torturous to the animals. Let's keep that in mind for the future. This next one is kind of funny. It's a recording from Switzerland, from a farm. In this case, it's a pig making a lot of like pig noises. But once you take that down some octaves to the geiger range we talked about, you get this like prehistoric like dragon dinosaur kind of thing. But let's just play the pig up here in its natural state. I guess that was a baby pig. You know, it's not the prettiest of sounds, but it's unique. But this is the... Like, what kind of badass dragon is this? If you have a subwoofer, which I do here, it's like this stuff here is... cinematic gold, if you will. It's interesting, we actually, and it sort of occurred to me right now, we have a lot of frog recordings. I think we probably have like 30, 40 different ones in the library in total. And they're beautiful. Because in every country, they sound different. These are frogs from Thailand. This next one is from Turkey. It's just sort of a seagull shower. I happen to love seagulls, and I love their sounds as well. As I mentioned in the beginning as well, we went to Ukraine and to Chernobyl, and you listened to some of the recordings here. In this case here, I took the Geiger counter recording and I tuned it together with the piano here. So it's a Geiger counter tuned in the same key as a piano. In this next one here is a recording of hyenas howling at night. And you can hear some like swamp environment around them as well. I just think it's a beautiful sound. And actually in my Soundpaint demo, use the hyenas as a hybrid sound by gating them. So as they howl, you can do a lot of stuff with that. Keep in mind, if you find something that's soulful about these sounds, you might want to bring them into your music in a way that you haven't thought about in terms of traditional instruments. Like there's a soul in these sounds. Weirdly enough, it fits in cinematic context here. Let me just play the demo for you right here, just this little snippet so you can hear it. So as you can hear, the hyenas are using the gate function here. If you go into effects here and you listen to the gate here, you can do that, and you can adjust the mix as well. So it's more like, and for whatever reason, I felt that worked in the music. And I just say that because I think sometimes we lock ourselves to the domain of like, okay, this is not a proper instrument, we can't use that, that's like hyenas, whatever. But there's a sound in here. Then play that one more time here and just put the gate on here so you can really just feel it here. I say this because no instrument can play this way. You might do a wailing guitar, but this is a visceral creature of the night, hungry for blood. So that's what Beautiful Noises is about in many ways. It's about embracing the unconventional, building the bridge between what's musical, what's sound design, and becomes musical sound design, if you will. Who would have thought that gated hyenas could make it into an epic track? But that's the way it works. And I think the more we liberate our ears, the better our music can become. It's not always just about instruments, it's also about expanding the idea of what an instrument could be. And for me, this is in many ways what Soundpaint is about. And I hope when you guys Soundpaint that you will explore some of the same features that we've done this video here. Whether it's going in here and exploring our sound menu, stretching the sounds, using the gate function, or the myriad of different effects here. I happen to love the rain delay as well. You can do a lot of cascading unique things. Or as we saw earlier, the granular reverb here that allows you to make tiny bit of grains out of everything. It's really about just sort of breaking the convention of what's music and liberating our ears. I always say, and we get a lot of questions in regards to this, like, how do you mix? How do you make original music and all that? And the only lesson I keep on coming back to is to trust my ear. If something sounds right, it's because it is right. Forget about what theory or things you were taught in the past. It might not apply. Sometimes to break the mold a little bit, you know, crack an egg to make an omelet or a few. You have to sort of allow yourself to go into the realm of what can be uncomfortable, what can be new, what you haven't heard before. And in many ways, this is what Beautiful Noises is about. So there are endless, infinite possibilities. This library is over 44 gigabytes of compressed source material here from all across the world, from 25 different countries. Let me just wrap it up here by playing a little bit with the 1928 piano and some beautiful soft birds from Venezuela. God, it's so beautiful. I kind of don't want this video to stop. Sorry this video was so long too. But there's so much beauty in the natural world. It's about time, I think, we embrace that in music. Thanks for watching.